Alright guys, TacticalRab back again today. Hope you're all doing well and enjoying your day so far, as Clayster is trying his best to get a spot for the league for the rest of the season, let's say for Major 4 qualifiers, and onwards it seems like that's a rather unlikely possibility at the present time, but apparently New York Sublanders have received offers for him from other teams, but have decided to deny them because they don't want to loan him out to another lineup if they're not getting anything specific in return. Clayster's kind of confused about this, the communication doesn't seem to be there, and he also reveals that if he doesn't get a starting spot next season, that is him done in competitive Call of Duty. Very much intrigued to your thoughts in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoy, subscribe if you're new as always, I would greatly appreciate it. Really upset the channel, thank you very much indeed for doing that one. Firstly, this was from Doug Sent to Martin, him and Ghosty of course now living together, now roommates. He's playing with Volants right here as well. They're looking for a main AR to pick up to the team, thought that was rather interesting. This also just to mention that Dan points out, like well the rotation sat down with Doug and Ghosty to talk about some things, and one of the quotes actually that came out here, for instance, I scrimmed London once a week, they haven't beat us in a control since March. That's what Doug Sent to Martin reckons about the fact that London's control isn't looking particularly good. Apparently they scrimmed London relatively often. Now Cam Allen from the London side, the analyst of the team, was like, okay Doug, what are you on about? Once a week, he says, reckon we've scrimmed him tops 3 times since March, guy must be the best. There's basically denying that Doug has any idea what he's talking about in terms of he's scrimming them every single week. I beat them in control. Maybe Doug's right that he's beaten them in control, let's say the 3 times they have played them, which I thought was kind of interesting. So Doug is the impressions king, as we well know. This also, if you guys of course know the name Dave, if you've been following Call of Duty a few years, you most certainly will. One of the best Infinite Warfare players, there's no doubt. I mean, during that year on Epsilon that he had was absolutely fantastic. They came top 3 at Anaheim that year. They won a couple, maybe they only won one, or it was 1 or 2 events in the European side, like CWL, like Sheffield and Birmingham that they had that year in 2017. And then actually Dave decided after he had a difficult time in World War II, he's kind of been fighting back in challenges since then, that he was going to go to Halo, right? And Halo was such a promising prospect for a lot of the kind of Call of Duty amateurs at the start of the season. Like the game is much better than Vanguard's, but like the support really from the competitive scene has been nowhere near what has been required effectively, and some players have kind of, well, made it. I mean, Morks tried to make it. I'm not really sure if Morks is going to stay there for the long term either, but Dave apparently is coming back here to Vanguard, so I do wish him all the success, because certainly I'm a very talented player. Of course, another very talented player, none other than Clayster. I thought this was kind of surprising, he mentioned yesterday. For some reason, it seems like the game might have changed to some degree. Like, well, he reckons that the cliff to top boat jump, which I guess is on Gavutu, for some reason his character doesn't want to jump, and he says the same here on Tuscan. Mid-map to top church is another one. The thing won't jump. I think there was a few players kind of replying to this, saying that, for whatever reason it doesn't work. For example, this here from Paulx, tried to rotate after a wipe and fell down and lost the rotation because they beat you to top right, and apparently Kismet says what you need to do. You have to keep looking forward. If you turn your camera left or right, it doesn't register, so you fall down. So, bit of a strange one, but apparently something's going on there. But of course, speaking of Clayster, right, this guy on the subliners at the start of the year, he's had a pretty difficult time. We've seen the drama that he's had with Crimsix over the last few weeks or so, and understandably the frustrations that Clay has had, eventually bringing Crim onto his team after Crim got effectively dropped from the Optic Dallas merger, and then Crim gets Clayster dropped from the team, and now he's fighting his way through challenges, and as he says, best IG on the AB scene. Like, Clay's been flying in the amateur scene, he's been doing a great job in challenges, I think, and he's going to stick it out for at least the rest of this year. Next year, he definitely doesn't want to do it again, though. And the question has been from the Clay side, what's his prospects for the rest of this year? He's tried to get some opportunities, he's tried to do the trials, right, with Minnesota potentially, with the Sublanders potentially as well. None of that has worked out so far, but apparently he even said a couple of weeks ago that offers are there on the table, or at least he has had offers. Other players, other teams want him to be on their team, but seemingly they can't come to a good arrangement with the New York Sublanders to actually make that kind of move happen. As he describes in this clip right here in just a second, that apparently, requests have been made from other teams, or teams have talked to him wanting Clay on the team. They've probably spoken to the Sublanders to say, okay, look, we want to buy Clay out, or we don't necessarily want to buy him out, but we basically just want to loan him effectively. So, look, you don't have to pay him for the next few months. We'll take over his contract. But for whatever reason, it seems like the Sublanders are turning down these opportunities for Clayster to get loaned out elsewhere. Or Clay's like, look, maybe this situation isn't quite as I've understood it, and the communication internally seems kind of strange. The Clayster really doesn't know what is going on there, but he believes that the Sublanders are potentially turning down some of these loan opportunities for whatever reason. I guess maybe they don't want him to improve another squad, right, and end up beating them at champs or something like that, right? So maybe it's going to be worth them a little bit of this monthly salary to make sure that doesn't happen. And Clay's contract does expire at the end of the season anyway, so he can just walk away, and he's not on a 1+1 anymore. That of course has come to its conclusion, so he can walk away at the end of this year regardless. But look, if he has offers right now as he says he does, and maybe New York Sublanders are denying them, then you'd imagine almost certainly he gets a spot next year.
An idea if I'm going to compete next year? So I'm going to play out this year in challengers, or in hopes that I get a spot back. If I don't get a spot back, I'm going to try and get a spot on a team at the beginning of next year, and if I don't do that, then I'm done. If I can't get on a team next year, I'm not playing challengers next year. I'm going to just find something else to do. They're really holding me. Yeah, I guess. I don't know. It doesn't make much sense to me. Like, why they won't even like loan me to a team that want. Like, I've had teams reach out and then been like, hey, we don't want to spend a buyout on you because your contract's only for 4 more months, but we'll take on your salary for the next 4 months. And they didn't want to do that. They didn't want to. I don't think they want to sell me, or maybe that was just like players talking too far ahead of the orgs, and the orgs actually didn't reach out in terms of like a loan system. But like I don't know. It just doesn't make much sense for me for them to keep me on the bench, keep paying me every month, and then in 4 months I'm gone anyways. Like, you'd think they would want to like offload some of my dollars on the books. You know what I'm saying? Don't boo NYSL. I mean, it's just they're doing. I don't know what they're doing. That's what's confusing to me. Like, I can usually understand like the business side of things, but I'm just confused how I'm still here. And like, if you ask them, they'll probably say, oh, no teams have reached out or anything, but it's because they want to buy out. At least that's what I've heard, is that they want to buy out. I haven't talked to New York management in months since I got benched. I've talked to Javed a little bit and Bobble and JP a little bit, but I haven't talked to any of the players. Well, I've talked to Kiz and Paul, but I haven't talked to Paco Krim or any of the staff at NY since I got benched.
So I don't really see a good reason why he shouldn't get a spot next season. I think that, as he says, like if other players, other teams are certainly interested in him, or whether this is kind of true about the subliners turning down these loan opportunities, or whatever the case is, that he's not maybe getting to join these teams with players that actually want to play with him, then, still, probably next year he'll be able to make it happen. There's so many teams right now that are nowhere near their potential. Of course, I brought up Los Angeles Thieves right here as a potential option, and I'm sure that's an organization that he would like to join, because that's the thing. He can probably just walk into Paris. If he wants to, he can say, look, Paris, like, bring me on, like, I'll make something happen. But look, does he really want to play for the minimum? Does he want to really finish his career on the Paris Legion? Probably not. So I'd imagine he wants to find a better offer elsewhere, and that's the thing. So many of these teams are underperforming expectations. I'm sure, like, with the players and the reputation that Clayster has, he can get a spot somewhere next year. If he doesn't, though, he has said, look, he is going to step away. He's not going to do challenges for another season, so it's really tough to say what's going to happen. Of course, if expansion happens, which is probably more unlikely by the day that we don't hear rumors about it, then look, Clayster's certainly going to get a spot. But even, like, a lot of other teams, I mean, he said halfway through the year that he reckons he's better than half the main ARs in the game. Don't get me wrong, main AR spots are hard to come by, right? But there's a fair few teams that maybe aren't getting the best out of some of their players. We looked at this a few days ago. The potential of Seattle, or maybe a Thieves or a Guerrillas or a Boston, like Florida Mutineers, of course, who certainly needs probably some leadership or some veteran experience on that team. So there's probably a fair few options that Clayster can step into. And maybe some of these organizations and players have already been interested over the final few weeks or over the last few weeks, but for whatever reason they haven't been able to come to an arrangement with the subliners to actually make that loan happen, effectively, relegating Clayster to the bench for the rest of the year, which is unfortunate, but maybe next year his luck will turn around. And as I say, his contract definitely expires. Subliners can't extend him any longer, so if he wants to walk away, he can walk away this season and go elsewhere. Let's talk also then about the best player in the world right now. Cellium, of course, has been one of the players in discussion. Right now, a lot of people would say it's either Shotzzy, it's either Cellium, or it's Dashy. One of those three, top 3 players in the game in some order or another. His stats this year, Cellium's, have been, of course, absolutely absurd. Even in the Optic series, where they get outslayed by 68 kills, he still manages to go just about positive in that one. But of course, like, Shotzzy, from a lot of people's perspective, at least in terms of the SMG role, to me, he's just far and away the best SMG player in the game. He's so annoying to play against in this game. And the other day on the flank, actually, Shotzzy was on the flank kind of talking about their series against Optic, and Donny Temp asks him, like, look, Shotzzy, are you the best player in the game? Like, what do you think about it? And Shotzi's kind of reluctant to say, yes, I'm 100% the best player. But if he does say, look, he thinks 100% he's the most impactful player in the game. An impactful player, probably, at least in a lot of people's dictionaries, effectively translates to best. I think that's certainly what Crimsix would say, that impact is the name of the game, and Shotzzy, well, reckons he's the man.
Go ahead.
Are you
Go
the
ahead,
best
Don.
player in the game?
Because Donnie's a new co-host over here, man. He's asking the good questions.
Best player. I mean, you could argue like a lot of people, but
Are you the best player in the game, bro? Yes or no? Is it
I
two?
would
It's either
say-
yes or no. Yes or no.
Well, listen to this.
Yes or no?
I'm the most impactful. I'll say that right now.
Yes or no?
Yeah, you definitely are the most
So
impactful.
yeah.
for sure.
So you're the
I
best
mean,
player.
most
in the-
impactful,
Yes or no?
1,000,000%.
Yes or
I will
no?
say that.
Yeah, it's because
Are
Shotzzy
you
gets
the best player in the game? Yes or no?
Shotzzy gets a kill and doesn't get traded
But-
like
yeah.
99% of the
Yeah,
time.
he's trying to beat around. Yo, are you the
He's,
best player
he's
in the
being
game? Yes
humble,
or no,
Don. He's
bro?
being humble,
Yeah,
bro.
I'm gonna talk shit one time, bro. One time. I'm baiting you into it, bro. You can blame me.
Well, then you can see.
Yes, I say yes, bruh. I say yes, bruh. This guy's delusional. This guy's got the chain poking out. He's got the fresh cut, yo. This guy's challenging everything.
So that's the thing to me, like, Shotzzy might not have the craziest numbers, albeit in his search and destroy stats this year are ridiculously good. Like, he will routinely have, for the first few games of a stage, like a 1.6 in search or even better at times, which is, you know, just ridiculous stuff, and he's honestly making calls on the fly, and, like, I don't know, this guy is just out of control. That's the thing we talked about earlier today with Optic versus FaZe and what this kind of rivalry, the future of it looks like. Shotzzy was the one guy that you have to really have on your team if you want to have a good chance of beating FaZe on a consistent basis, because you've got to be able to compete with the SMG line of FaZe, which is tough to do in a normal game, albeit in this game maybe they're not quite as good. Simp and aBeZy in this title as they necessarily have been, let's say in Cold War or something. But Dashy and Cellium, they're both discussing what Shotzzy does with the SMG is just on another level. It kind of reminds me to an extent, although Shotzzy has a different playstyle to Scump, of like what Scump was doing for several years, back in the Advanced Warfare days, pretty much like, you know, even Ghost, Advanced Warfare, Black Ops 3, Infinite Warfare to a degree. Scump during those years, it was just by far, most of the time, the best SMG in the game, by such a margin. Like during the Dynasty days, Scump didn't really have a duo, at least an SMG duo, right? Usually it was Karma, but he didn't really have like a solid SMG duo at the time. He would pretty much just do it all. And now it seems like Shotzzy, at least in Shotzi's role, like Scump honestly might be one of their, well, second best SMG, third best SMG, whatever, right behind Shotzzy. But in Shotzi's specific role, there's no one that comes close to Shotzzy right now, I think. In terms of aggression and in terms of impact as well. So I think he's probably right to say this. It's good he has the confidence in himself as well to say, yeah, look, I'm the best player with the game, or the most impactful player as he kind of puts it. And certainly that impact is transferring over to their results so far this year. Just wanted to finish out with this. I believe we looked at this yesterday. This is continuing day by day, the greatest competitive map ever bracket. So the kind of winners right here. So Samurai Dumont took out Berlin. All the Vanguard maps got destroyed, as did Gunrunner in Modern Warfare right here, and Hackney Yard dies for Modern Warfare as well. So Moscow is through. So anyway, these are the current 8 matches that are going on. You guys can feel free to vote. I believe I'll just kind of scroll through them right here. So the first one was Raid versus London Dogs. This is this is the original Raid actually. So like I voted London Dogs just, you know, to take the mick really, because I knew Raid was going to win anyway. Wanted to give Docs some votes, but it only gets 11%, which I feel is even maybe harshly doing Docs, but still Raid's going to win obviously. The next one was Solar versus Throwback. I actually voted Throwback here. I feel like Solar was good. It was a great map in Advanced Warfare. I didn't like it as much as some of the other ones, so I actually like Throwback a little bit more, I think. So I voted for that one. Then Fringe versus Raid 2. I want Fringe to win this one just because Raid 2, like, you know, Raid 2, Raid 1, want to just get Raid 2 out of there and move on, because I really want the Fringe versus Raid finals of the left side of the bracket, which is rather possible right now. So I'm voting Fringe. Love that map. I mean, Black Ops 2 was just great. I really want the final to be, all the finals to be Black Ops 2, Black Ops 3 maps, just to show the track supremacy of these games back in the day. I voted Warhawk here. I know that Frequency will win this one, mainly because I think a lot of people weren't around back in the days of Ghost, but honestly, Ghost, like Search and Destroy on Warhawk and Blitz on Warhawk as well, both of those maps, I think they even played Domination on it as well. Like, honestly, Warhawk is a phenomenal map. Frequency was good, but it's kind of boring. It's kind of symmetrical. I'm honestly surprised how well Frequency worked for 5v5, to be honest. So it was a good map, but I don't think it touches Warhawk in my opinion. Standoff is going to demolish Samurai Jamad. Like, this is the lowest percentage we've seen so far. This map wasn't bad, but Standoff obviously is on another level. I actually voted Retaliation over Detroit, just to give Retaliation some credit, right? Because I honestly think this map is phenomenal. Detroit probably was the better map, but to me it's closer here than the numbers imply. And yeah, pretty sure that's it. Actually, there's this one finally, Stronghold over Moscow. That's not even a question, but yeah, if you guys want to get your votes in, Arsenal over Freight as well I went for, feel free to get involved. But very much enjoyed your thoughts and all this stuff in the comment section below. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did enjoy it, hit on the like button, tell us your YouTube gods, this is a good video, others like you should see it as well, and hope grow the competitive Call of Duty community. Thank you as always, take care of yourselves, and I'll see you next time.